While Kirby is known to hide parts of its lore in pause screens or figurines, sometimes the Japanese version of the text slightly differs from the English version, for better or worse. But one certain piece of lore in the Japanese version of Star Allies could change a lot of what we know about the world of Kirby, and it has to do with Star Allies' final boss, Void. One of Void's pause screen texts mentions the four matters, important forms of energy that make up the world of Kirby: Heart, Dark, Dream, and Soul. But what exactly are the four matters, and what elements of the games could help us understand them better? Well, sit back, relax, and let's start with the two matters that we can understand the most. Heart and dark matter are the energy of positive and negative emotions. I'm only talking about both of them in the same section, because both forms of energy are shown act as counterparts to each other. This can be seen in the Dark Matter trilogy's final weapons: the Rainbow Sword from Dreamland 2, the Love Stick from Dreamland 3, and Ripple Star's Crystal from 64 of the Crystal Shards. Given that the Love Stick is made from items called Heart Stars, it's more than likely the Heart Stars are an example of heart matter. The only way to get Heart Stars in Dreamland 3 is to complete certain tasks or Pop Star's resonance, after they show positive emotions from getting help, like joy or satisfaction. There's also the fact that the Heart Stars act as a sort of purifier of dark matter. At the end of every boss fight in Dreamland 3, all of the Heart Stars you collect form together and get rid of the dark matter plaguing the area. This could also imply that the Rainbow Sword and Ripple Star's Crystal are also made of hard matter, since the Rainbow Sword can deflect Dark Matter's attacks, and the first thing Dark Matter targets when invading Ripple Star is the Crystal, like they know it's a major weakness to their invasion. Either that or they're weak to anything that has to do with light. But at the same time, while the Dark Matter race has been shown as nothing more than a threat, it's not the case for all of them, or the Dark Matter energy they're made out of. A person can be made of hard or dark matter, but still be different on the inside. And the best example of this that comes to mind for dark matter is Gooey. Gooey is a dark matter much like, well, dark matter in Zero, but he's one of Kirby's friends and partners in Dreamland 3 and in Star Allies, and gets along pretty well with everyone else. Almost makes you wonder what a villain made of hard matter would be like. But speaking of which, the existence of legendary weapons that use the positive energy of hard matter could also imply the same kind of relics exist for dark matter's negative energy. While there's not much to go on, I think there are at least 3 that fit the bill. Do let me know if there are any others you could think of, or you think any of the ones I'm about to mention do or don't fit at all. First, we've got the Master Crown, where in Magolor's Extra Mode boss fight, the crown is said to offer great power to its wearer, but at the cost of consuming their soul, imprisoning them with the hatred and obsessions of past rulers. Granted, some of these could be mistranslations, and please do let me know if it is or not, since that's not something new to Kirby, and as I recently found out writing the script, Star Allies is filled to the brim with mistranslations, more on that later, but assuming this isn't the case, it would imply that the Master Crown is not only sentient, but is powered by the dark matter, or in other words, energy of the negative emotions of past wearers of the crown, specifically the energy from their hatred and obsession. Candidate 2 is the Dimensional Mirror. We know that gazing into the mirror too much can corrupt a person's desires into something darker, since that's what happened with ScHIAuChi gazing into the mirror too much, becoming obsessed with power and beauty. But there's also the fact that the mirror is home to shadow versions of characters we know, like Meta Knight, King Dedede, Taranza, and even Kirby. Although Shadow Kirby isn't evil. Honestly, the worst you can say about Shadow Kirby is that he's implied to be a little bit more mischievous than the real Kirby, based on his description in KirbFighters. But even so, he still has a desire to do good, since while he fights off Kirby in Amazing Mirror a few times, it's only to keep intruders out of the mirror world. In reality, Shadow Kirby's more than eager to help Kirby protect the mirror world from danger. As for candidate number 3, they're a certain pair of items exclusive to KirbFighters 2, the Masks of Dark Bonds. Honestly, I was a bit iffy on this, but it's the descriptions for the masks that makes me think they utilize dark matter energy, on the basis that they're the power of negative emotions. In KirbFighters 2, Kirby and another friend of his have to fight King Dedede and Meta Knight together in a competition, but according to the mask's description, when Dedede and Meta Knight put the mask on, they lost sight of themselves during their battle, which doesn't sound too different from the Master Crown's possession or the Dimensional Mirror's corruption. But besides all that, are also the friend and Jamba Hearts of Star Allies. Once the Jamba Hearts hit King Dedede, he reverts back to how he was in Kirby's Dreamland, by stealing as much of the food as he wants. But when it hits Meta Knight, he loses his chivalrous personality for some kind of hidden wild strike that's always been inside of him. Meanwhile, the Friend Hearts make any enemies that it touches, well, friendlier. Or they can purify anyone too overwhelmed by the dark matter, when a lot of Friend Hearts are collected. Anytime we're shown the powers of these items in Kirby, they're always tied to emotions in some way, whether it's bringing out or sending positive emotions or doing the same thing for negative emotions. Hence why they could be examples of hard matter and dark matter. While those two forms of energy are easier to explain, what about the other two matters we know the least about? Based on what it's called, soul matter is most likely the energy that gives Kirby characters life. But most of the time, souls in Kirby were mostly used as a way to label revived forms of final bosses. Planet Robobot and Forgotten Land can give us a slightly better idea on how soul matter likely works. In Robobot, Haltman's body gets hijacked by Stardream after absorbing most of his soul, but during the battle with Stardream's revived form, Stardream Soul OS, the pause text states that a small part of Haltman's soul still remains inside of Stardream, implying the idea that a person's soul can be broken up into different amounts, which we later see in Forgotten Land. After defeating Elphalus and reverting back into his malicious side, Forgo, they take Leongar to a world of their own making, and parts of Leongar's soul are scattered throughout the levels. All of them are needed to fully bring Leongar back to life, but during the rescue mission we can also see that the souls of others are able to take over different bodies, like when Forgo's soul tries to use Leongar's body as a new vessel, and after he can't wake up when Forgo's defeated, the rest of the Beast Pack manage to find more pieces of Leon's soul. If we're going by the idea that soul matter is life energy, then we can assume that all the souls Kirby and Elflin found weren't enough at the time, but Leon was able to wake up still because Forgo's soul made up for the missing amount. Either that, or Forgo's soul was the only soul in Leon's body, and the amount of souls Kirby and Elflin had helped Leon regain parts of himself, but not all of himself. Either way, both would imply that the amount of soul matter is important to forming a complete soul for the body, enough to fully gain their sense of self. And I think one strong example of this is the soul of Sectonia, who is a revived form of Queen Sectonia. Her pause text describes her as an undead being, since she's called a husk. Based on our idea of soul matter, this could mean that this form of Sectonia has enough soul matter to come back to life, but not enough to actually reform her soul completely, hence why she's described as a husk of her former self. And in a way, the idea of whoever has more soul matter is a dominant controller of the body is also implied in Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Since the Master Crown is sentient, we could roll with the idea that the Master Crown's own soul matter overtook Magolor's body after Kirby defeated him, since Magolor would be too weakened to fight back the Master Crown's control at that point, which isn't too dissimilar to what happens with Leon. But overall, while we don't have too much to go off of with soul matter, we can at least hazard an educated guess based on what we've been shown and told about souls in Kirby up to this point. But the next of the four matters isn't as simple. Dream matter is probably the hardest to explain, since we don't have much to fall back on, but if hard and dark matter are the energy of positive and negative emotions, and soul matter is life energy, then dream matter is likely the energy of imagination. There's two reasons why this could be the case, starting with Fecto-Elphalus. While I did mention previously that they retreat to a world of their own making after they're defeated, the world they created is called Isolated Isles Forgo Dreams. As the name says, it's a dream world created through Elphalus' psychic powers. But given the name of the place, it's possible that Elphalus' psychic powers is more than just psychic powers. Maybe what they actually are is the energy of dream matter, especially considering Elphalus' other creations within this world, phantom versions of the Beast Pack and King Dedede. They're more hostile than their real-world counterparts, being based on Elphalus' memories of them and made of his negative thoughts. It's also implied that Elphalus purposefully disincluded memories of their relationships, as you're told that Phantom Dedede has no memories of his friendship with Kirby, and Phantom Coraline has little to no care for Leongar. In other words, Elphalus created his own controllable imaginings of King Dedede and the Beast Pack. But another possible case of dream matter comes from the Fountain of Dreams, introduced in Kirby's Adventure and its remake Nightmare in Dreamland. According to Magolor in Return to Dreamland and Deluxe, an older race of beings called the Ancients created artifacts that could bring dreams to life, which lines up with what you're told about the Fountain of Dreams in Super Smash Bros. Melee. The description states that it uses the Star Rod to create a gush of dreams that flow like water. The dreams then become a fine mist and drift all over the land, bringing peaceful rest to one and all. And given that Dedede slaying the Star Rod causes everyone to not have dreams, it is more than likely true. Or in other words, the Fountain of Dreams and the Star Rod give the people of Dreamland's imaginations in a positive way when they're sleeping. But there's likely one more candidate that could fit as an example of dream matter. If we're going with the idea that dream matter is the energy of imagination, then another possible contender could be Drossia, Paintra, and Vividria. Drossia is the main villain of Kirby Canvas Curse. She has the ability to bring her paintings to life. In fact, Drossia herself was a painting given life. But later on, Triple Deluxe would bring us a boss called Paintra, whose backstory states that she was part of a painting depicting three sisters who were separated at birth. This is emphasized further in Vividria's guest star text in Kirby Star Allies, where she explicitly mentions having sisters. These all imply that Drossia, Paintra, and Vividria are likely the paintings of the sisters given life, which doesn't sound too different from the Phantom Beast. If memories could be used as a basis for creating the Phantom bosses through Alphalus's dream matter, then what's to say something else can be used as a basis? Something like paintings, for example. It's a stretch for sure, but one reason why this could be the case has to do with Drossia's magical artifact, the magical paintbrush. Canvas Curse isn't the only time we see this item, because that same item gets referenced in Return to Dreamland, where it's shown in one of Stone Kirby's forms, alongside the Star Rod and the Triple Star from ScHIAuChi. Given the name, we can just assume the Triple Star had the same properties as the Star Rod. That and ScHIAuChi is a mainline game, but why the magical paintbrush in particular? What if it's because the Star Rod and the magical paintbrush have certain similarities to each other? And what if that something has to do with imagination? But as I've stated before, Dream Matter is the most mysterious and less understood of the four matters. So please do let me know if you agree or disagree with any of this. But while I've talked about the powers of the four matters on their own, what about when all the four matters come together? When I was doing research for this video, something about Void and Alphalus's soul forms stuck out to me as odd. Void Soul has the title Essence of Chaos, while instead of being called Alphalus Soul, Alphalus's true arena form is called Chaos Alphalus. But why is that? I think the answer to this lies in some real-world research, specifically Greek cosmology. According to the myth, there exists chaos, the shapeless emptiness of the universe before creation. In other words, a void. But eventually, divine beings would emerge from the void, one of them being Erebus, the personification of darkness, and Nyx, the personification of night, but Nyx would later give birth to Aether, the personification of light. There are other divine beings that emerged as well, but the point of the matter is, they're all connected to chaos, to the void. Given how similar this is to Void and the Four Matters, this could imply that Void is called the essence of chaos, and Chaos Alphalus is the species born of chaos, because both are made up of the union of the Four Matters. Now, Kirby Star Allies has a lot of mistranslations, most of which either omit certain comments in the Japanese version or completely change the context of the Japanese version. Void's second description in one of these, in the Japanese version, states, dreams, darkness, soul, heart, all chaos and possibilities gather within its substance, being born as the origin and ancestor of all. Furthermore, the Japanese version of Void Soul's text states that Void can be born in several different forms depending on the type of energy they receive, while confirming that the Void we fight in Star Allies is made of the matter of darkness. It doesn't specifically focus on positive or negative energy like the English version of the text. If Void Soul's title is the essence of chaos, and the Four Matters create chaos, this could imply that Void is the originator of the Four Matters. It could even explain why there's an entire race of beings named after one of the four energies. It's possible the answer is that when forming the Four Matters, Void also created essences or personifications of the Four Matters, much like what happens in the Greek creation myth, and the essence or personification of dark matter is Zero, the master and leader of the dark matter race, hence why Void makes itself look like a dark matter. Again, in the Japanese version, you are told that the Void you're fighting is formed by the matter of darkness. Given the similarities of the Greek creation myth and the Four Matters being born from chaos, what if all this time Zero could possibly be the Erebus of Void? They're not just a dark matter, they're the dark matter, the essence of dark matter. This will explain why Void takes the appearance of dark matter and would further imply that the two are linked. Even more so since Zero is shown to be able to create other dark matters. This will also explain just what Chaos Alphalus really is. They're called the species born of chaos because they were reborn from a union of the Four Matters, because the Four Matters together create chaos. And given that at this point Alphalus has absorbed the souls of most of the Beast Pack, energy for Morphonite, and maybe with some of his own energy mixed in, he'd more than likely have enough energy from the Four Matters to be reborn from chaos. Like maybe Morphonite himself is also a being of chaos based on this idea. And again, let's say this theory was true, that would imply that there are personifications or essences of heart matter, dream matter, and soul matter just waiting to be discovered. But at this time, the formatters are mostly just part of the Japanese text, and what I'm saying could be proven wrong in the future. But the formatters introduce a lot of interesting ideas and implications. But based on what we're told of the formatters in Chaos, plus the fact that the boss titles of Void and Elfless use the word Chaos in their titles, maybe we'll start seeing more of the formatters during the next phase of Kirby after Forgotten Land and Return to Dreamland Deluxe. Only time will tell. Let me know in the comments what theories and ideas you have about the formatters, or if you agree or disagree with any of the crazy stuff that I've said up to this point. If you like analysis videos on Kirby or Nintendo games in general and would love to see more, please do leave a like to help spread the video out, and please do subscribe to stay updated on when more will come. But with that said, thank you so much for watching all the way through, and I hope I'll see you again next time. Take care, everyone.